So up next, and a warm welcome to Thomas Castren, who is a data platform MVP with a passion for SQL Server for about 20 years already, and also data science. And actually, data science is a bit of a passion for myself. And so one thing I really liked in researching a bit the work from Thomas is he's actually a maintainer of the useless R functions. So you might wonder, useless, why would that be interesting for me? One such function that is in there is basically a job title generator. Which is kind of nice and kind of fun. And so I'm hoping Thomas can also share a bit on his roadmap, what other functions are coming, which may be more or less useless for the people. So in the upcoming session, we talked about automation. Thomas will be talking about automating your social life, and we've got dinner time coming up, and the smell of food is entering the room here. So it might be an ideal time to get everything automated, so we can spend some time, grab some food,
get some energy.
Get some energy, indeed. Without further ado, I want to hand it over to Thomas. Thomas, are you there?
Hello, good evening. I hope you can hear me.
Definitely, we can hear you fine.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. That's a lovely intro you made, especially with those useless functions. Now, it's going to be hard from there. There's a lot of useless functions coming up. So, but if you have any useless idea, it's more than welcome. Yeah, especially it's a beautiful, how to see people collaborate in GitHub and send me ideas or say, okay, this is a bug or there's a improvement of the function and stuff like that. So it's I just love it. So and the job title, that's I used to run a website also in Azure that was actually Transact SQL job titles. So. But then I decided to put it down. So, okay.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot, and keep them coming. So you have the floor, and take it away.
Beautiful. I'm gonna share my screen and let me know if you can see my slides.
Yes.
Okay. Beautiful. Okay. So is that 40 minutes or so?
Yeah, roughly so.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you. So, good evening, everybody. It's evening in Slovenia, and we just had a probably like 15 to 20 inches of, centimeters of snow today. So it's a beautiful winter day. Today, I'm going to talk about how to automate your life, especially online. With Microsoft Azure, I am a huge fan of automation. So everything that can be automated, it's my flavor. Couple of words about me. If you want to get in contact, go to GitHub or follow me on Instagram, LinkedIn, or Twitter. It was a beautiful intro, so I'm not gonna lose any time here. So the agenda for today, I'm going to go through what is social life and its features, especially in this time, in this unprecedented times of beautiful lockdowns and stuff like that. So, and I'm going to talk about some Azure features, especially Azure Functions, Logic Apps, and virtual machines with Python. And the whole idea of this talk is just to go through a couple of recipes. So ideally, just to give you a glimpse of how you can go along, how you can get started with Azure. I've seen a lot of people have developed some sort of fear or something. So this was more like getting people on board and saying, okay, it's not that scary. You can do a lot of interesting stuff. So recipes for today, the way I've envisioned it, are how to get the best prices with your particular local retailer, how to prove a Twitter account and tweet some useless stuff again no one really wants or no one really wants to read, how you can create an Instagram profile and share some photos of your cats, dogs, or wine, which are three of, from what I've seen, the most favorable topics people like to share. Hiring people, just to give you an idea, how you can go along with that. Getting some real estates. There's a lot of people, wanting to be the first to get, a better deal when renting an apartment or buying a particular land, etc., etc. The last one, sending text, SMS, short messages to all of your contacts when they have birthdays. So it's also something, of course, you need to do. And as of those social things like Tinder and stuff like that, I'm not gonna discuss that. But there's a huge potential also. I've sort of marked them in red and green. So the green means that can be fully automated. Red sometimes need your attention. So what is social life? Well, in this Corona time, I think the best way to go is to get some Azure credentials and credits and get on board. Otherwise, digital social life, what would that be? It's, social networks, chat portals, work-related networks, shops, sport engagements, video, online games portals, video portals, news libraries. And again, I'm not gonna discuss and talk about soul searching and dating. But, I've seen a lot of people from different community events that they are definitely interested in that part. Okay, so as you can see, today's topic is going to be more, fun orientated and not really into detailed codes and stuff like that. So, but first of all, I just want to give you a glimpse, an overview. What you really need is an Azure subscription. There's a free trial if you want to get on board. A computer, of course, some scripting programming languages, some social identities like GitHub, Instagram, Amazon, Twitter. Of course, you need a Corona lockdown. Hopefully, we'll get over soon. And disclaimer, all the recipes are more like exemplaries, just to get, learning people on board and stuff like that. Examples are created to bring closer cloud service to everyday life. No GDPR or data had been exposed. Definitely following code of conduct, and everything shown today is available also at the GitHub. Okay, so a couple of words about which services I've used. I've used Function Apps. Function App provides basically endless computing resources. It's serverless and also stateless, integrates with many cloud services like HTTP triggers, code for blob storage, serverless workflows, database response, changes with, different types of databases like Cosmos DB and stuff like that. You can run some scheduled tasks, queue systems, IoT, and of course, those near real-time or real-time data processing. Also supports .NET, Java, JavaScript, PowerShell, Python, in order to create also some custom handlers for Azure services, for Function Apps. And also automated deployment is absolutely great, but this is more like next level in terms of the talk today. I've created also automated deployment using PowerShell and all the scripts that you can basically get down when you're creating the services in Azure. And of course, one great thing about services like Function App is the flexible pricing. The second one is Logic Apps. It's specially service used for scheduling, automating, and orchestration of more like business-oriented tasks. And of course, in my case, also some useless tasks, business processes integration, workflows, especially those enterprise integration, application integration, and stuff like that. Again, serverless. It goes beautifully together with Azure Event Grid and Azure Functions. If you sometimes you need some part of Logic Apps where you can also integrate Azure Functions in order to do some of those little tweaking in order to get the Logic App up and running. It's especially fast for starting. There's a lot of pre-built templates and, of course, the gallery that can get you on board. And of course, virtual machines, sometimes, you get lazy. It's much easier to just, get a virtual machine instead of writing function app. But, functions app are pretty cheap in comparison to virtual machines. The blob storage, of course, all types of databases, my favorite. And not to forget about, continuous integration, DevOps, GitHub, also that. The languages, .NET Core, Python, PowerShell, of course, the Windows machines. If you decide to go with the Linux machines, there are some additional functionalities that you need to install. If you're running it on Linux or Mac, you would definitely need to have the package management and some additional NuGets, of course, Visual Studio and some other stuff. But, you can do, regardless of the operating system, you can go with Windows, Linux, Mac OS, no problems at all. So the first recipe for today was, since the Corona lockdown, I wanted to get a Apple tablet. I'm not endorsing this particular brand or this particular retailer, but the idea was that, since the stock was running out extremely fast, I wanted to be the last one to grab this tablet from this particular provider, the vendor. And since it was, only once per day updated, I didn't know when it was updated. I was more annoyed of waiting and stuff like that, and refreshing and hitting F5 every, couple of minutes. I've decided to do something about it. So, of course, I wanted to get not the best price, but I just wanted to get the last stock. And this can be applied to, getting the best price or anything. So in this case, what I did was I've created a virtual machine. It can also be, Azure function app, anything that can be serverless. I've basically created a Python environment, and of course, what I needed in this case was a product, or you can go with a web shop or anything of your desire. Of course, when I started coding this, I was coding on my machine, and then once I turned off the machine, it was the problem because I couldn't have it up and running. So I decided to that's why I decided to go with a virtual machine. So the couple of steps for the automation: examine the product you want to observe, script the code to get the section of the website that you are interested in, and store or report the results. And the third one was particularly interesting. Okay, so once I went and examined the website, I found the particular CSS or HTML tags that I want to observe. And sorry, everything is in Slovenian language, but it's just a placeholder for this particular tablet. I wanted to examine whether it's going to be on stock soon or not. So basically, I went into that, started writing a Python code. Of course, Beautiful Soup was my favorite, just to get a quick examining. And then once I had that, I could see, okay, they're still not stock, and I could be, hitting refresh every minute on my computer. I was thinking about, okay, so how do I get this reporting back to my, either to my mobile phone or to my computer, to my email, to SMS, whatever. So I was thinking, okay, I can go with Azure Database and then start, refreshing website, exposing it through the API or something. I can write a serverless function. But then I decided, okay, let's try Telegram. Telegram has an open API that you can basically just code. It's available also on Python. The only thing that you need basically is your mobile number, and you register, and that's it. So it's very similar to Viber, WhatsApp, stuff like that. So again, the automation process, the first two parts were checked, and I was stuck with the last one. So I decided to go with the Telegram. So the Telegram itself, basically, you don't need to run literally anything. You just register, and that's it. And of course, there was also a Python script, Python package available for Telegram for your, doing the nerdy stuff and doing the coding. Okay, so as I said, in this case, it was late in the evening and I was quite agitated because I couldn't get my hands on that tablet. So I decided the fastest way was just to get a virtual machine up and running. In this case, the cheapest version with Windows, because I'm more into Windows than Linux, but I still love Linux. It was much faster. So I basically just set up the virtual machine. And then the question was, should I expose it and use also SQL Server Database, where I would basically just scrape the web and put the stock for this particular product or some prices in the database. But then I said, no, I'd rather go with the Telegram. So setting up Telegram was pretty straightforward. What I did was I basically just downloaded Telegram for Windows and just hooked Telegram with my phone, get the bot up and running, and some additional Python coding. So there is this telegram.ext that you basically need to pip install, and using beautiful soup, I was up and running in no time. Once that was fixed, I just ran this scheduled job. Basically, it was running on my virtual machine, and it still is running literally on my virtual machine. And it was, scheduled to go to that particular website every minute or so, and then start returning me the results on my mobile phone. So this is my mobile phone, print screen from my iPhone actually, and again, everything is in Slovene, but nevertheless, you can see I was setting up timers for 60 seconds, 120 seconds, and at the beginning, I was quite thrilled, that the product is still not available, it's not on stock, but then it turned out that, getting a message every minute, especially when it's not successful in terms of, being on stock or not. So then later I decided to set it for every hour. And then I decided, well, should I basically just reverse the logic and go ping me the first moment when you get it on stock. So literally I recoded everything and started, the other way around. So basically the system was pinging that website every minute in order to see if it's on stock or not. And once it was on stock, I basically got a message. Just side note, disclaimer, this was running for like 2 or 3 weeks. And I thought literally that, the service wasn't working. And then, after 2 or so weeks, I basically logged on to my virtual machine and the thing was still running. The problem was that my local retailer still hadn't got the tablet on stock. So literally in like 3 weeks or so, the thing actually responded and I was back to shop and order it. So I got my tablet. So this was more like, an experience, not how to get the best prices, but literally how to get this communication from the website or from, it can be a web shop, it can be anything else, back to your phone. And this was amazing because, sometimes you just want to, close a computer, but your phone, basically, you go everywhere with your phone. So the recipe number 2 was, let's create a Twitter profile and tweet again tweets that nobody really wants, or useless tweets. So in this case, idea was, okay, let's try something new. Let's try word of the day, quote of the day, maybe the current weather for my hometown or current time. I was still pondering this idea, what would be the best way. And in this case, of course, you need a Azure subscription, some engine, like Logic Apps would be, the fastest, but, you can go also with Azure functions. And also some database, some persistent storage where you can, if you in case want to store, some results, that would be also possible. So what I did, I've created a Twitter account. With this particular Twitter account, I had to have also development account authorized, which means that you can then access to some APIs to get, hold of the tweets, read the tweets, search for particular hashtags or stuff like that, or even post the tweets. I've created Logic Apps. Logic Apps are, in this case, relatively straightforward, and of course, access to SQL Database or Azure storage for storing some extra content. So the idea of my automation was, given a period, I want to do a tweet, or I want to tweet something, or following that condition, a particular condition, do something, tweet something, and then of course repeat, and after some time, basically forget about the account, which really happened to me. I forgot the password, which I can sure get it back, but still. And I've created Logic Apps. The Logic App itself is set to basically do the recurrence and then get the current time. So for those who don't understand, the name of that Logic App is called, literally translated in English would be accurate time. So the idea was to basically mimic the church bells in my hometown, Ljubljana, Slovenia, how many times they do dong, dong at a full hour. So literally, this is where all the idea came. So I said, okay, let's go with Logic Apps. I've created recurrence and then get the current time. And based on the current time, if it's not the full time, don't do anything. At the full time, count what time it is. If it's 5 p.m., then do 5 dongs. If it's midnight, then don't do anything. And then the condition, of course. Based on the condition, because the church bells don't basically dong during the night, they start around 6 or 7 in the morning and they go all the way until 8 in the evening, and that's it. So basically the idea was to create a condition that would basically do just that. In the meantime, I also wanted to pimp up my Logic App in terms of, if it's a public holiday, also give, some sort of greeting, or if it's a, an important date, do also something. So in this case, you can see that there is also execute SQL query that basically goes to SQL database and get all the public holidays. And also the idea was to get some, some extra weather events, if it's going like today, gonna be full snow, or if it's gonna be, full of rain, do something like that. At the end, I've decided also, I've basically created this. I've also then decided just to go with the dongs. But, the, again, useless idea is to to learn and to connect those services. And this is basically how the Logic App then was working, and the trigger. And you can see that when I was preparing this session, it was 24th of November, and apparently I wanted to go into my Logic Apps, of course not knowing my password, and apparently it failed a couple of times. Again, this is my Twitter account. I wanted to be sneaky and just, have it running. It was basically in the first Corona wave. I basically created this, again, probably out of, boredom or something. And in meantime, I've managed to get 0 followers. So yeah, hooray. Anyways, the idea was, to have it, up and running. And you can see there was like more than 2,300 tweets, a couple of days ago. And the picture is the central church in my hometown. So, there's no fake to that. But the problem was, when I was digging into each of the tweets, there is, every time something is tweeted, you can see that there is Microsoft Azure Logic Apps in the background. So this was then something that I didn't know how to remove, and I just left it there. I'm going to quickly switch to this account, and you can see that, again, this is up and running. And if I click on a particular tweet, you can see it still says, it's running Microsoft Azure, or it's rocking Microsoft Azure Logic Apps. Anyways, this was quite fun. It's still there, up and running, and I still haven't. I actually had one follower. I'm quite proud of that, but ever since. The third one was, let's go and try something with Instagram. I've seen a lot of people, as I said, doing some cats, dogs, wine, stuff like that, and it's getting extremely popular. And since I'm a avid coffee drinker and coffee lover, I said, okay, let's go and do a coffee lover, SI stands for Slovenia, account, and let's try to, automate it. So basically, I've created a coffee lover account, and from there on, I decided whether I want to go with virtual machine or if I want to go with the function app. I definitely needed a blob storage to store my photos. Then some functions, either to connect to virtual machine or to connect to this blob storage. At that time, I didn't know how to do it. And then, of course, some Python, because I was, also exploring Python with Instagram years ago. And then I said, okay, let's do Python, of course. Back then, I used Selenium, which is a Python package. But I've seen just recently it's Instapy package, basically a package particular for Instagram, and it basically does the same as it did Selenium. Of course, you need Instagram account and phone. So the idea behind this automation process was, okay, let's make some photos. So on a daily basis, I'm making quite a lot of photos, but in this case, coffee-related photos. And have those photos synced with my Azure Blob storage. And then periodically, I said, okay, let's do it on a daily basis, select a particular photo, and that basically you store on your phone that goes directly to the Blob storage, and then push it to the Instagram account and post it with some hashtags. I managed to find the hashtag generator. It's called, if you Google Instagram hashtag AI as a artificial intelligence, you can basically get there and find the best hashtags for your particular idea. So what I did was, and this is the print screen from my Azure storage, where you can see that the photos actually, I've somehow managed to get those photos. I was thinking, how to name the photos that I can basically script. And I've seen there's a timestamp, which then I basically converted to just date time, to just date, because I'm posting photos on a daily basis. So I'm not doing it on hourly or so basis. Daily, I said it's fine. So the idea, and probably the hardest part, was to get my phone connected to my blob storage. And again, Azure functions and some .NET scripting to get my SQL server base connected to my phone, and then it stores the photo itself on the blob storage. The function was then basically, again, this is just a test script that does basically that. You can see there is a lot of namespaces involved in this, from Xamarin to Poly, stuff like that. Everything automated. And again, this was the hardest part in this case. Everything else was more like, piece of cake. And in this case, some .NET coding was quite thrilling. And then the last part I needed was just to have a lot of materials, a lot of photos. I have, before the lockdown, I've calculated the amount of coffee I need in worst case scenario if we are in Slovenia lockdown until March or April, because I'm drinking a particular brand of coffee that is not available in Slovenia, and I usually drive to Italy to get it. So this was, my calculation, and so you can imagine, I have a lot of coffee, a lot of photos, and that's it. So once I have this, the only thing I need to do then is so make a photo with my phone, store it, and then the Azure function basically connects to my phone, gets the data, and put it there. And then on the other hand is I have the Python that basically access the blob storage and put it on my Instagram account. How then at the end does this look? I have basically the coffee here. As you can see, this has been up and running for like 10 days or so, and I've managed to get 4 followers, but I'm literally just following, those high-end brands of coffee makers. And for each, basically, I'm getting the hashtags from this site. I was also thinking maybe I can do in next step, maybe I can do some image recognition in order to say, okay, this is the portafilter, get some portafilters hashtags from that website and posted it here. So again, I'm still thinking, pondering how to do that, but this is, the next step, how to improve that. And this turned out quite interesting, I have to say. The fourth recipe is, again, how to be the first at buying the real estate or getting the best deals. This is, again, something from a Slovenian website that basically states all the infrastructure, all the real estates, from the apartments to houses to lands where you can buy something. In particular, in this case, I was just, pondering how to get things done. And immediately, once you go to this website, you can see there's this URL that has a particular names where you can easily access, and then using some script, decode it, and that's it. So in this case, Azure Logic Apps, again, both are stateless. It's stateless and serverless, which means that you need to get the idea how to, manage not to send if there is a new ad that, and you've already seen it, or the Logic Apps has already seen it. You need to know, when was the last time you've accessed it. And then, of course, the return information. So in this case, this was, back. What I did was I actually was just sending SMS. If I would be redoing this today, I would definitely use the Telegram. So the idea for the automation, given an interval, check for the content and send alert if something is available. So back then, again, Logic Apps, as I said, it's a beautiful HTTP trigger executing some JavaScript code. So again, you can use Python. And then this was the Plivo. Plivo was back then relatively cheap in order to, get some, quota of short messages, and that's it. So I've basically connected, and every time something has happened, this is pretty much straightforward. Again, JavaScript is stateless and serverless. So the only thing I had to figure it out how to run this continuous enumeration through time was, given a period of time, check how many times have basically passed since the last run, and then do something with it. Okay, the last recipe, sending text when your contact has birthdays. So again, never forget and always send. So it's just, not to forget about your friends. So again, Logic Apps, tended to be the best way. Again, with Plivo, but this was again a couple of years back. The idea basically has slightly changed now that mobile phones had basically become quite powerful. I've since ever then used Scriptable, which has nothing to do with Azure, and I'm not endorsing the product itself. But the idea with the first process was I wasn't really checking on the language if a person or if my contact was from Austria or from from let's say England, that you would know how to switch the language, or if somebody was from the other side of the world, to get the right time zone. So with this JavaScript Scriptable, which is an app available on iPhone, you can basically automate that as well. So check for the language, check for the time zone, and send some quote unquote personalized short messages. So the idea is also that you can get a widget where you can see, how many how many days until a person has a birthday. And again, sending, SMS with happy birthday wishes, it always sort of like gives you a warming feeling when you get it. To conclude, the cost per recipe and estimates. So the first virtual machine, so the first recipe, it costs around roughly 30 euros per month to run. Again, you can, recode everything or reverse everything and get it done much cheaper. The second recipe, it basically, because it's running 8 times per day, so this is the Twitter with the current time for 31 days. That's approximately 31 days per month. It costs around $50 basically per month. The third recipe, again, if I'm taking virtual machine, it's again 30 euros per month. Or I can recode everything using function apps and the storage. The storage is relatively cheap, but there is a beautiful part about Azure is that you get up to 1 million executions for free. So it really is no-brainer. And recipe 4 was, again, Logic Apps, 100 times per day. Again, extremely cheap. Plus using all those Telegram messengers, which is for free for now, and also Twitter and Instagram, which is free unless you're either using business profiles. All in all, for startups, small to medium or big businesses or enterprises, something of this small can definitely give you a better digital recognition and, for extremely low costs. How to save on costs, especially if you are, running a lot of virtual machines, stuff like that, go serverless, use function apps, and apply the rules. Of course, virtual machines are more comfortable, especially if you're lazy or if you're programming at, midnight and then you don't really feel like coding too much. Virtual machine is quite there, easy to use. But, it comes with additional costs. Work in progress or further ideas. Definitely, entering competition, winning swag or winning prizes. This is definitely something worth doing. Usually in December, it's time of, a lot of companies are doing, a lot of competitions. Yeah, you can easily do, Azure function app or something, and then, do the reporting back. The one that I find most interesting and thrilling is, of course, if you're coming from a big enterprise, hiring people is always a problem. How to do it, either go, there's, applications like Meetup or GitHub. GitHub Archive is extremely powerful and beautiful. LinkedIn endorsements, stuff like that. So what you can do is actually, get all the interesting information, especially if you're searching for people that, on LinkedIn, through endorsements, you can find a particular programming language or particular skill that you are interested in and get people basically in contact and then start engaging in conversation. On the other hand, GitHub Archive is also a powerful search engine that basically goes through the whole GitHub, goes through location, goes through all this tags for the languages or repositories, and you can definitely find interesting people there. And also Meetup, I also use Meetup for, community events, stuff like that. So sometimes, you just, maybe you've met somebody, maybe you haven't, but, you can also expose that and go that in sort of like a semi-automated style. We've covered short messages. The first one, turning on coffee machine after alarm goes off on your mobile phone, definitely doable. Just requires a Raspberry Pi or some, tiny machine computer, and then you're off to go. The key takeaways, it's absolutely easy to learn Azure services. Of course, love to learn the coding. Spend some time with different services definitely will give you a much better overview of what can be done. Simplify, boost your digital social life or online social life. I'm not really into the gaming or, those chat bots, Discord, Twitch, but, definitely doable also there. Have Azure basically to help you with your daily tasks. Don't forget to go outside, explore the nature as well. I am definitely fond of scripting everything. Don't forget to store username, passwords in software or key vaults that are specially designed for that. I am very famous for forgetting the username or the passwords. And that's about it. And the last funny part was I've managed over 2 years to get a Twitter account up and running and having 500 followers, which was, quite interesting, with hundreds of tweets or so. And I've decided to sell it just to see if there is a, area in Slovenia to sell a Twitter account. And after posting an ad on a Slovenian website where, you can sell literally anything, I failed to sell a Twitter account. I don't even know if this is, there's an area or, a market for that, but, I'm curious. Thanks. And if you want to get in touch, please do so.
Wow, Thomas, what a wild tour of technologies and how you've applied them to basically automate your social life. So a question I have from my side. You've kind of shown some recipes in doing this with your personal life, how you can automate things. What are kind of the things that people can take away from this and maybe in automating some professional services or tasks?
I would definitely go if you're into programming or scripting, any type of, let's say, websites or developing software, stuff like that. You can script a lot of stuff like that as well. So RPA, robot processing automation, is something that, for instance, when you are, let's say, writing a let's say you're coding a web shop and you have a couple of those unit tests that you want to run through and see, what happens if, when I'm coding, if I put a product in my basket, what happens? Those type of processes can be easily automated. So instead of you writing every time, putting a product in the basket every time, you can basically script that. You can use Selenium, you can use Python, you can use PowerShell. It's also extremely powerful for that. You can go online, you can use Azure Function as well. So, this would definitely for enterprises be a typical, case. Another one would be, finding the best prices. This is what I've covered in the first place. So. Yeah. But there are many cases where you can, not to mention if I go to, let's say, Google APIs, there's huge variety of APIs available that you can use for automating a particular business process. So yeah, the list goes on and on.
Yeah, indeed. Well, I think this is a huge call out to automate whatever you can as much as possible. So once again, thanks a lot for your great session, Thomas, and hope to see you again next time.
Thank you.
So.